Hello, it's Dr. Cortex here, and you're listening to Raw Dogs, one of my favorite podcasts. So keep listening. Who knows what you'll find out?
I think a lot of the games use the LMRs as much as you
think they would.
Panzer Dragoon probably does.
Maybe. Yeah,
Well,
but
it's
you
called
cannot
Panzer
push those
Dragoon.
down
That's all you use.
at all.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Raw Dogs. This is Raw Dogs episode number 64. My name is Brad, and we're part of the HyperX Podcast Network. Who else is here today?
I am Dylan, and I'm here as well. I'm the usual co-host, but we're actually in rarefied form today. We've got, well, you're kind of like, you remember when like Beast joined the Avengers?
No.
I mean, in the comic books, yeah. I
You're
remember.
kind of like when Beast joined the Avengers. So you're like an Avenger, but you're kind of an X-Man.
Are you saying that because my beard is extra long now?
I'm saying it because
And you talk like Frasier.
you ditched us.
You talk like because you talk like
I'm a
Frasier.
classic Kelsey Grammer figure right now.
Oh, that's
Yes.
his name. That's right. I knew
For
that.
those of you who don't remember who I am Dominic.
Can you say Sherry Niles?
Sherry Niles.
That's pretty
Spot
close.
on.
And the first time ever on Raw
Isn't
Dogs.
this crazy, guys?
But also,
Yes.
also the first time ever me and Josh have ever podcasted before
That's
together.
crazy.
Is that for real?
Really?
Yeah, we have met, we have hung out.
I
several
figured
times.
we would have. I've done a couple
I
of
guess
these.
at MGC you guys were on.
Yeah,
Yes, you were.
Oh, yeah.
but never in the Raw Dog studio.
Yes, and as the Raw Dog Studio, this is we're in Tom's cavernous old apartment. This is a cat-free zone, and Tom let us use it while he still has the lease. So it's missing all of the Funko Pops. So otherwise, it's pretty much the same place.
It honestly feels a little sad. It feels like the end of an era. I mean, I know it already happened once Tom left, but good God, this is weird.
Isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
the Raw Dogs are proud members of the HyperX Podcast Network. For
sure.
more information, check out podcast.hyperx.com. And since Santa Claus is here today, since Mr. Joshy's here, that means he brought goodies along.
Ho, 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 ladies and gentlemen. That's how I say ho.
Josh
ho, ho.
always has a bunch of beers when he comes.
Yeah, I got some beers. Just grab some quick, when I have beers just laying around all the time. It's just, they follow the sky. That's how my life works now.
It's your literal business.
That too.
A literal. It sounds like a dream come true.
It's like a
honestly.
librarian, like, where did you get these books at, dude?
It's like, wow.
Well,
It's
this
like,
is a rare gem found in the back alley in the secret bookshelf lair where there's all this beer.
It
Anyways,
sounds like an 80s movie.
I like 80s movies, especially when they're bad.
don't feed Josh beer after midnight.
Plop, 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 said the Joshes that popped out of my back.
Oh yeah. My favorite one is Stripe.
Stripe. Oh,
That's
yeah.
Is he the one
with the mohawk?
He's such a
Yeah.
bad boy.
He's such a bad boy. Is what's the name of your character that we Chet?
Chet.
Oh, yeah.
Chet.
Good old Chet.
Chet pops out of your back.
Yep. Yeah.
He's just a little sassier than you. That's basically the
Or
difference.
like that movie Malignant, where the weird things popping out of its face.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's kind of
You have like a
it's kinda
cancerous
hilarious.
tumor brother living in your brain that they just
Yes.
pushed inside. But then you bumped it after your spouse was getting a little physical.
Yeah.
Waking up your malignant tumorous brother.
Oh.
It's
And
a
he's
very funny
trying-
movie. It is a
Yeah, it's fun.
hilarious movie.
It's,
Man, I wish Chet was
really
here with
goes
us
to
today.
the-
Don't worry, we're going to be here for a little while. Chet might show up.
Brad,
what are we-
who was that?
Josh, what are we drinking first?
Oh, we got a classic, Undead Pale Ale. Hilarious. Zombie Dust. It's a classic. It's virtually an IPA.
I'm used to seeing Zombie Dust in like Tall Boys.
So I know they did some rebranding. They also have 19.2 ounce Tall Boys. They have I think they're doing 16 ounce as well.
I like the 19-ounce cans. Those are cool.
It's a very crushable, nice pale ale. It used to be more bitter, I believe, but now the way that things have trended, it's all about that balance, baby. Nice hops, not a palate bashing bitter bum. And, it's all about drinkability here.
Hell yeah.
And Brad, I overheard on a podcast recently, maybe a few of them ago, you mentioned what's technically a pale ale?
Yeah, I was looking into it, and
So for my standards, the pale ale is something I think in the England area, English style pale ale is definitely on the more subtle light beer side, to say in simple terms. An American pale ale, or a pale ale made in America, is usually hoppy, like a session IPA, we'll say.
Yeah.
I
Lower
consider a pale ale made in America basically an IPA.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just kind of how you want to market it too.
Yeah, marketing is a factor.
Yep.
But
Can I make
overall,
a Dylan Pale Ale?
The D?
A DPA.
Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, we can do it all.
Zombie Dust is also just like, from my knowledge of the beer scene, one of the most popular IPAs that I'm aware of.
Used to be hard to get, and not so much anymore.
Three Floyds
Once you
is a
get
popular
bigger
one.
tanks, it's easier to find the beers, right?
Yeah, I didn't mention. It's from Three Floyds Brewing out of Indiana, which you probably already know that.
Because here, the Dogcast is a podcast about beer and video games and beer. I'm Tom.
And I'm Brad.
We're not going to let this Tom thing go for a long time.
Now you
No.
pretend to be me, and he'll pretend to be you.
Oh, hey, I'm Josh.
That's a great Dylan impression.
My name's Brad. You know.
Well, if you're going to put it that way.
And cheers, gentlemen,
Right on.
To us.
to us, the Raw Dogs.
God damn it.
To beer, video
Like ours
games,
didn't clink, but you got the right idea.
and lots of sex.
Smells great. You're definitely coming on Raw Dogs number 69. That's about sex in video games. I want you there for that one. And Raw Dog 66 is the devil in video games. So we have some fun topics coming up later this year.
Oh, and I get to talk about the devil. It's great.
You're talking about Satan?
Today, we are talking about the fifth generation of video games. This is the first of a series that we'll do somewhere down the line again called Console Wars, where we're going to talk about a generation of consoles, some of the big stories that kind of surround their releases, their launches, why some did great, why some did terrible. And then at the end, we can all vote what we think won the console war. Not that it matters, but whatever. We'll go ahead and do it anyways. But fifth generation was definitely one of my biggest
Oh, yeah.
early experiences with consoles. Like, I didn't get to partake in the console war of Genesis and Super Nintendo. That was my brother's decision, and I was a dutiful little boy, and I held the bandolier while he shot the gun. But this one, I definitely made the decision, like, which console I wanted to be a part of. I was a PlayStation 1 kid myself. How about y'all?
N64. It was kind of easy. It was an easy choice. You look at someone playing Mario 64 at a cousin's house, and you kind of fall in love, and you're just like, well, I don't have any other frame of reference, so I'm just going to get that.
Yeah.
PlayStation 1, big time. That was my first console I bought myself. I did buy a used 64 shortly after. But, man, I was diehard PlayStation when that came out. Won me over right away. I remember reading all the magazines before it came out and being like, oh, man, the world is changing. 3D!
Yeah.
Yeah, blocky, everything.
Jaggedy jaggies.
I still love it.
Yeah.
Pixely.
Yeah, Minecraft is still a thing.
That doesn't even look the same as when it came out, though. That thing is hyper not. I mean, it's blocky, but it's purposefully blocky. It's an art choice.
I also think they're about to introduce like ray tracing into it.
There's already ray tracing. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they've already modded this thing to
I don't
death.
play it, so. But
Oh, you don't play Minecraft? No. I'm just kidding, man.
for me, it was accidentally the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
So my dad actually ended up buying me a Nintendo, like an original Nintendo, down the street at a garage sale that came with 60 games for like
Holy shit.
$40.
God damn.
And
That's what it's all about.
And
Getting that big
unfortunately-
banger, but
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
bargain.
unfortunately, so I played it a fuck ton. And unfortunately, my mom, I think, fell victim to that. Like, anyone who plays video games is a
Satan worshiper.
psycho Satan worshiper, and being in a house that went to Catholic school.
Yeah.
Where are you from again? Illinois?
Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which your parents should have been hippies.
They are, which they're also, it's,
They don't want electronics in their house?
yeah, we don't like to talk about that. But so
Boomers.
somehow my Nintendo disappeared, and my father realized how upset I was about it, having been the person who bought it for me in the first place.
Oh.
I think my mom just saw me playing Duck Hunt and just went, our son's going to murder people later. And so
Well, you were
shot-
screaming at the TV, die, and you were shooting that zapper.
Probably.
Your shot was so accurate. She's like, I'm raising a marksman.
Could be,
And you
yes.
did murder people, but nobody found it.
No, no.
Nobody's
They're-
gonna find
You
it.
got good at
Still buried.
hiding them.
Yes.
You watch
They're
enough TV
still-
shows.
Yes.
They're still buried in my backyard, and my dad uses them as fertilizer. It's fine. But my dad, I think, felt bad about it and then bought me a Nintendo 64. So there is like video footage of me being that little kid, like opening up a Nintendo 64, being like, I got a Nintendo 64. I can't believe it.
And then you ran to the bathroom and your mom put it in the garbage while you were gone.
She tried to, then again, when they had a garage sale, she tried to sell it, and I walked out there and I was like, what the fuck, Mom?
I don't want to like cast aspersions on your parents' relationships, but it doesn't seem like they ever talked to each other.
Isn't that classic marriage?
Oh, the old ball and chain.
Yeah. So that's essentially how I got one. And then I also went over to friends' houses who had PlayStations, and we played like Thrasher skateboarding and that kind of stuff. So
The WrestleMania games.
Yeah.
All those wrestling games in that era, especially on 64, were great.
Yeah, the 64 ones were better. I remember playing a lot of like WCW Nitro on the PlayStation 1, and it was really bad.
They had that in 64 too, though.
Yeah,
64 had better definition.
yeah.
And
I
it
don't
had
even
the-
remember the name of those
That
games.
game sucked. Though,
It also
in
had
general.
the 4-player ports, though.
Yeah.
I still
Ports.
have most of those games in the box still on the 64.
Nice.
Dude, Josh, you were sitting on a fucking landmine of money.
I am.
a gold mine, a landmine. This thing's gonna blow, dude.
Oh,
A landmine of money still applies.
Yeah.
If what's exploding is a bunch of money onto everyone.
Oh,
like it.
yeah.
You know,
so it's dripping down
That's
my
me defending.
cheek.
That's me defending myself.
Cha-ching!
What? Whoa, ooh la la.
The fifth generation of games, also referred to as the 32-bit era, the 64-bit era, or the 3D era, dated approximately from October 4th, 93 to March 23rd, 2006. This had more competing consoles than any other generation since the video game crash of 1983. Our main contenders...
We don't talk about that year.
We don't talk about that year. Our main contender, though, contenders for this generation, we of course have the PlayStation 1, the Nintendo 64, a beautiful little thing called the Sega Saturn, something that Tom actually bought called the 3DO.
I wish I bought one back then.
It's only $700, you know.
Yeah, I know. No, my neighbor had one, and I played it, and I'm like, oh. Glad I didn't buy this one.
This costs more?
Do you want to go to my house and play PlayStation 1?
Yeah. Give me Crash Bandicoot over Crash and Burn any day. I think that's what it was.
Man, what a time.
And then also the Atari Jaguar.
Woof.
There were other consoles at the time: FM Towns Marty, the Amiga CD32, PCFX, Apple Bandai Pippin, Bladia, Casio Loopy. I don't know what these are, but they were listed as not being that important, but being there. So,
Can you imagine?
Acknowledgement.
Can you imagine in 20 years?
Scottie Pippen.
The Scottie Pippen. If that was the name, it would have sold like crazy.
Yeah.
Can you
It's like
imagine
his
in-
whiskey.
Can you imagine in 20 years people talking about the Ouya?
Oh,
We're gonna be like old as fuck.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna be like, remember when they tried that?
Go to bed, Dylan.
Wait, that was the digital one.
They were basically phone games that they were selling on a console.
Is he still talking about that Raw Dog show he says he was on? We used to have a podcast.
And then it cuts away, and it's just literally me sitting there alone in a post-apocalyptic bunker. Like I feel like I had children.
There's not even kids there.
No, there's no one. Maybe a dog.
Yeah, so
scary one.
The 3D gaming was like the big push going on in this generation, which there was a few instances of 3D gaming beforehand. Virtua Racing and Virtua Fighter in the
Super
arcades.
Nintendo.
Super Nintendo had the FX chip for like Star Fox and a few other games. And yeah, the 32X did have some rudimentary 3D capabilities for for that Sega Genesis. The first one to make its appearance, though, was the 3DO. This came out October 4th, 1993 in North America. Worldwide, 5 months later. So, yes, I didn't have much experience with this one.
Until Tom.
Until Tom let us play it.
Yeah.
And it was bad. I mean, it was
We had a good time.
Yeah. I guess we only played one game,
because we were
though.
together.
Would it have been like mind-blowing when you were a kid, though?
Probably.
Maybe not Way of the Warrior.
Oh, no, we love Way of the Warrior.
I love it.
On the side of a mountain, inside of a lake.
Hearken ye, for I tell a tale known to precious few, and extend a challenge to compete with the greatest warriors the world has ever known. The victor will gain entrance in the Book of Warriors, and his name will be law for centuries to come. Although nobody knows from whence the Book of Fighting came, it is known that it is the complete compilation of the world's greatest competitors, their methods, and their stories. Written by magic and the blood of champions, the book has been kept since before history in a mountaintop citadel in the Himalayas. It is at this citadel that the world's strongest competitors fight for inscription in the book. Good and evil, mortal and immortal, convene once a century to compete under my rule.
There was a man who was born to a person, and that person was a great man. He had a sword, and he named his sword Devin.
I honestly would have probably been blown away by like the cutscenes, because any cutscene in this era was just like, dude, they're like movies now. That was like the sentiment.
Well,
much,
and
yeah.
yeah, because they didn't have full motion video in the generation before this, not in any good capacity.
They tried.
Yes.
They definitely tried. And I can't remember any specifics, but I do remember like a Super Nintendo game that almost tried to have like an anime opening cutscene. I don't remember what it was called. Mystical Ninja Goemon, maybe? I don't know.
It's kind of like watching SpongeBob on those Game Boy Advance cartridges that they really just try and push it and squeeze it in there.
I honestly, at a friend's house, he had one, and I put it in my micro.
Yeah.
And when the compression meets the smaller screen,
It probably looks a little better.
It actually looks like the episode. And I was actually kind of impressed by it because it almost feels like it should have been made for the micro, but
Yeah.
whatever. You don't want to watch SpongeBob do shit on a inch-by-inch screen.
The 3DO was conceived by EA founder Trip Hawkins, Facebook friend of mine.
Brag.
Very cool.
Name drop.
He liked my engagement photos. I was like, that's Trip Hawkins. That guy made the 3DO.
And Carly
That was the best part of the engagement.
Carly's in the corner just
I'm
smoking
sure
a cigarette and going, great.
Honey, the guy who made a 3DO liked it.
I'm sure the engagement wasn't his idea.
Yeah, he supported it. It cost $700 to be there. They actually stopped partnering with Sony, who had other plans with Terry Diebold at the time. Numerous manufacturers were allowed to make 3DOs, so this wasn't like an official capacity, like there was only one version of the hardware. Essentially, it was a set of specifications that people could make their own 3DOs to sell. Very weird situation. So there wasn't just the one 3DO, but Panasonic had the first 3DO that was released. And yeah, this was Time Magazine's Product of the Year in 1993.
Wow, really?
People were jacked on this, but Panasonic failed to manufacture an ample supply of these consoles for launch. Some retail stores only received 1 or 2 units to sell. So, I mean, the line of one person, and just say, that's it.
Sounds modern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not having consoles
They
to
were
sell.
ahead of the time.
They're gonna love this in 30 years when they can't get them. Trust me. And they had one launch title, just the one, Crash and Burn, which we played over here, which wasn't terrible. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't good, but I could imagine it looking impressive back in the
I
day.
think it was probably one of the greatest games ever made. Easily.
Yeah, and the 3DO crashed and burned, actually, which is kind of fun. Didn't do well at all. You're a big fan of 3DO, aren't you, Dom?
I've never played, but I am a fan of Way of the Warrior, for sure.
People love Way of the Warrior. If you haven't checked out the intro to that game, go check it out.
As guardian of the book, I am devoted to the 3 true forces of nature: good, evil, and the pain caused by their eternal conflict. In an endless search for resolution to this struggle, I have yet again brought together the planet's greatest warriors, but for the last time. For the Book of Fighting has but one empty page, and it is written that the way of this tournament's winner will fill this page, finish the book, and tip the scales in favor of good or evil for eternity. The balance of the world will lay in the hands of only one. Find the way, noble challenger. Find the way of the warrior.
The best-selling game for the 3DO was Gex, which I didn't know Gex got his introduction there on the 3DO, but
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah. You didn't know?
That gecko was cool to a young teenage Brad, anyways.
Yeah. I think that was like before you realized that the jokes are repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
It's like drinking tap water at Jerry Garcia's house.
Yeah. If you didn't realize that that's what was happening, probably the best game for a 10-year-old boy.
I missed out.
And
Dex, you didn't miss anything.
What?
yes,
New beer's been poured.
but the 3DO was the most advanced console on the market until the PlayStation and Sega Saturn arrived. Josh, what do we have next year?
Oh, we are drinking beer. On this podcast, we drink real beer made with real beer. And this beer is a nice hazy double IPA from Southern Grist and Bearded Iris. It's called Fake Hate. Because they fake hate each other or something, I guess.
What?
It's like a
Fake hate.
It's a spat that you just do for publicity.
Yeah. Dylan, have some of mine.
We're okay. Keep yours, man.
You sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
I've got some other
I
beers
gave you
here. I'm
another
good.
little snippet.
Okay, that works.
Oh my! It smells like a hazy IPA.
It smells fantastic.
But yeah, these are like the top 2 known craft breweries in Tennessee.
I don't know how I feel about that. There's like a weird like pineapple.
That's what I was smelling too. Nashville, huh?
Yep. Enville, as the cool kids call it.
Definitely juicy.
Oh, yeah. But this is a nice IPA thing.
I like it. Another amazing console at the time was the Atari Jaguar.
Oh my God.
Has anyone played this one?
No.
Yeah. This
And?
is one of the worst consoles ever made.
Wow. Okay.
You ever
So
play-
right at the right time.
People hype Alien vs. Predator on it, and that is one of the worst looking games I have ever fucking seen.
Wow.
It's worse, like,
Did a friend of yours have this, or where did you play it?
I don't remember.
You tried to block
I
it
don't
out.
want to remember.
Yeah.
I blacked out.
Actually, I think a video game store in Madison had it up for play, and I hopped on, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to go blind. Like,
Can you describe a little bit of like the visual look of?
holy shit.
What's going on
It's
with
like Minecraft blocky everywhere, but like,
This Minecraft thing with you.
but so fuzzy and like blurry and like blinding. I don't know. It's very not playable. I played it a few times when I was younger too. I contemplated buying one because I wanted every video game system. And I remember
I'm
seeing
going to have
it.
every one.
Of course. You know, gotta have them all.
This one's a rare one.
Yeah. Looks
So
a little better than
it's
what I
not-
looked at.
Yeah, it's not blocky-ish, but
maybe
there
if
are
you see-
blocks
Does it
on
just look
here.
like bad Doom?
Super, like, horrible Doom, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Super pixelated to shit.
Yeah.
Not playable.
This,
Yeah.
And the controllers are fucking stupid.
speaking of the controller,
Ah!
in 2006,
Look at all the buttons.
IGN editor Craig Harris rated the standard controller as the worst video game controller ever made.
Holy shit,
That's
this
saying
looks,
something.
He
this
was
looks
ahead
like
of
a
his time.
controller attached to like a
It's a shitty.
A Barbie Dream Phone.
It's
like
a
a pin
19
pad to get into
Nah.
a vault.
It's an early 90s TV remote controller.
What if I need to enter a bunch of phone
Sideways
numbers really fast in the
attached.
video game?
I'm gonna be honest with you. If I ever get like super rich and I have to have a place, literally the pin to get into my house would probably be done on a
You're gonna
Atari
have it,
Jaguar
yeah.
controller. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That'd be kind of a dope flex, right?
Yeah, but that's the only thing you would use it for other
Yes.
than that.
No, I wouldn't use it to play video games. I mean, I think the Intellivision basic like remote control was not good either. I don't know.
But at least you're
Judge
not playing
not,
the TV with it.
But it was far enough back to where they were still learning what they were doing. There was no excuse for the Jaguar to
No.
be this
It's
bad.
bullshit.
Ergonomics exist at this point. So,
And you were talking about how terrible it looked. This was, according to Atari, the first 64-bit console on the market.
It was actually 6,040.
They said their thing was do the math. This is 64 bits. The other ones are 32. This isn't there's no comparison.
Some of you believe your system is the most advanced in the universe. Let's review the numbers. Sega Genesis is 16 bits. 3DO is 32 bits. The Atari Jaguar is 64 bits. Which is more advanced? Clifford! 16 and 32 are less than 64. So with 64 bits, 3D graphics, real-world animation, and lightning speed that you can only get with Jaguar, which is more advanced? Clifford!
Can you repeat the question?
Jaguar! Jaguar! Jaguar!
And the thing is, it wasn't 64 bits. This is a point of controversy. It has two custom 32-bit processors that work in tandem. They're like 64. And like at the time, EGM
It was
comes out.
3 bits, wasn't it?
Well,
32.
32.
Yeah.
3.
But EGM comes out,
Three,
and they're like,
just three.
if Sega did the math the same way you did, then Sega would have 112 bits, because they just if you add
32X.
them all up, like it doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. But they claimed this was 64. Some people, it's not like there's different ways to look at it, but
This is a console war,
yeah,
and that was
And it was
their
a
propaganda.
their strategy. That was their
propaganda.
strategy.
That is sweaty marketing. It is. It's a little bit like people in like a they're all in like the boardroom or whatever, and they're just like really just throwing out ideas. It's like, you know what, 32 plus 32 equals 64.
some guys like, just print it. We got
They
nothing.
could have called it the Atari 1000.
The only thing we got is Alien versus Predator, and Josh doesn't like it. So
I think
that's all we got.
I think Atari was just kind of a pariah still. Like after the '83 debacle, people didn't really have good feelings about the Atari.
Well, they didn't think about it.
The name brand was kind of like
Hey,
tarnished.
guys. Hey.
We're still around.
Who invited Atari to the party again?
Atari tried to come back recently, right? Tommy Tallarico tried to.
They did something that didn't go well.
Did they try to do Atari Hotel?
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, the launch title for
We'll
the
have to look into
Jaguar,
it, Dylan.
for launch titles, it came with Cybermorph packed in, and there was only one other title available
Classic.
at release. Trevor McFur in the Crescent Galaxy.
Classic.
Classic. Everyone says he's probably better than Mario, but there's no way to prove it consistently.
You're right. There's no way that you
There's no
can
way to
figure
prove it.
that out financially.
No. Just strictly design, though, and name-wise, Trevor McFur, wow.
Who came up with that?
Genius.
Okay. No,
Trevor McMillan was his name.
Trevor McMillan is like, this is my furry alternate persona, Trevor McFur.
I do want to see what Trevor McFur looks
Well,
like.
his name is Trevor McDonald's, and he didn't want to go with McDonald's, so.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's like a sexy-looking
God.
Jaguar.
Oh,
a
I thought he was
furry.
a wolf. What am I thinking
Oh
of?
shit! Yeah.
What is it,
Somebody
like
look
Rex
that up.
Rocket or
He's a
something?
sexy, badass furry.
Oh, I remember this from the video game character showdown.
Yep.
Yep.
Do we add him to
Is that
the...
this year's or last year's?
Last year's.
Can we add Trevor McFur to the list this
He's on.
year?
He is on, and it actually might be going on right now when this episode gets released, possibly. But
Damn.
yes, the
We need to add
Atari
characters.
Jaguar didn't do well. The best-selling title was Alien versus Predator. At this point, we're going to
Great
take
game
a small
on
little
the SNES.
detour to talk with Josh about something called the Nintendo PlayStation.
Oh, yeah.
In the early 90s, Nintendo partnered with Sony to develop a new CD-ROM peripheral for the Super Nintendo. The CD-ROM adapter called the PlayStation would stack on top of existing Super Nintendos, and Sony also planned to release a standalone version. A few of these prototypes managed to escape before they were all canceled, and a friend of the podcast, who is sadly no longer with us, actually found the Nintendo PlayStation. And Josh, you were there shortly after that happened.
Yeah. Terry went to...
Terry Diebold?
Yeah, he went to, what's his name, in Madison to fix the console to get it up and working.
Ben Heck?
Yes, Ben.
Heckendorn?
Heck. Yeah. And him being the whiz guy he is, he did it. And ironically, me and Tom were some of the first people to ever play it when it got fixed.
So cool.
Actually, it might have been within that day or two.
I think the Dogcast was the first one to break a lot of news on it. I know people had posted on Reddit, but
Yeah.
I think we had one of the first exclusive interviews with Terry about it.
Definitely.
Were you guys Reddit famous for a millisecond?
Let's just say literally thousands of people went to our YouTube channel.
Honestly, that's not bad.
But yeah, so it was pretty cool to be able to play that and experience it and be like, wow, this is just weird. Like the rarity of that, the only known one to exist.
Yeah, and that was actually Olaf Olafsson's Yeah, former Sony executive. Terry purchased this at an auction, just like a box of random things.
Storage unit auction, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like
And they kept bringing
Storage
him
Wars
more
or Pawn,
stuff.
whatever.
They kept bringing him
Pawn
more
Stars?
stuff, more things beyond the. Apparently, he had multiple. It wasn't just one lot of stuff he won. They kept giving him more and more and more. I believe.
Really?
And it's like one of those things. Like, oh, sweet, a whole box of unopened, sealed, twisted metals, long boxes, and like all these random games.
That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a quite unique experience to be able to play that and then get to know Terry and Dan.
Also, it's just crazy that we have pictures of Tom holding a $360,000 console like he's going to smash it.
Yeah, and he did, but he fixed it.
Yeah.
What's bizarre to me is there are reports of you guys telling me people like putting their drinks on top of it.
Not on top of it, but essentially
Next to it.
this was at a VIP
Like a
party,
beer.
and people
Yeah.
just set their beer next to it, and Terry was just
He's all
kind of...
nonchalant, like, well,
Like, yeah, it's
you want to give
fine.
me a beer?
He's like, is that Ted DiBiase?
If I owned something like that, I think I would have hired armed guards. Maybe.
Or like
No,
at
but
least
instead
put
he
it in
said-
like a glass case or something,
Yeah.
Instead, he sits there, drinks 5 beers, and he's like, I'm going to take a piss, watch the prototype. I was like, Terry, don't leave this with me.
He's like, I
What if
gotta,
ninjas come?
I gotta go, Terry. I gotta
What if Ninja the streamer shows up?
What if Reggie
and
just
he
shows up and
steals
he's
it?
like, I'm taking this back? I
What if
wouldn't.
Shao Kahn and the Scorpions show up?
Oh no! Well,
They're
I
all
mean,
technically.
Shao Kahn was there, but
frankly, they're so elegant. I don't think they could have accidentally even destroyed it.
but there was
They're
a
good drunks.
Ken Kutaragi was working for Sony, and he kind of went rogue and was trying to make deals with Nintendo. And he was talking to these companies like, we want to get into video games. We want to partner up with you. They went to 3DO. They were talking with Sega, and nothing worked out at all. But they were working with Nintendo, and they had a deal set up. And then at the 1991 Consumer Electronics Show, first Sony goes up and they say, we're partnering with Nintendo to do this awesome new thing.
The 91.
In 1991. And then the next day, Nintendo comes out and says, we are partnering up with the greatest CD-based manufacturer in the world, Philips. And it was the summer screw job.
Sounds like it should have been in professional wrestling.
It does.
That's
Something what happened to
the
Bret
summer
Hart.
screw job, right?
Yeah, what happened to Bret Hart.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
thought it was a different name.
At least
Or is
well,
it
not
the
what happened to-
Montreal screw job that
Yeah,
I'm thinking
that's the Montreal
Yeah.
one, yeah.
We
At least it's not
we
what
don't
happened to
want
Chris
to know about the
Benoit.
summer.
But yes, the prototype was then found later, because I think Olaf Olafsson probably was like, fuck what happened there. He just left it when he moved away or something. And
I don't need none of this. I have $1 whole million.
I'm going to have over $1 million.
Yeah.
Do they still name people by Viking and Danish convention over there? Because Olaf's son means son of Olaf, also Olaf.
Kind of repetitive.
It's fine. It's Olaf Jr. That's
Yeah.
great. But Olaf Olafsson is a fucking bomb name.
Yeah, it's like Dylan Dillinson.
Or
It's never gonna happen.
Or Odin Odinson.
That's a good name, actually.
That's existed.
Stinky Stinkerton.
That's Josh. And I believe it's Stinker's son. Stinkerton is kind of it's more occupational. It's like how the English named themselves as they arrived in America.
So Sega was working on their Sega Saturn. Nintendo was pushing along with Project Reality, and then Sony was doing their own thing.
Project Reality. It's such a 90s name.
Sega, though, was it somehow I think they were trying to sabotage themselves. Sega of America wanted to do things one way. Sega of Japan wanted to do it another way. And they kept pushing and pulling, and what happened was it kind of imploded. Releasing the 32X in America the day, almost to the same day that the Saturn dropped in Japan. Consumers were confused. They don't know what's the point of this if that's coming out a year later. What are you doing? And what is Sonic Chaotix? No one understood. But to botch it even further, E3 1995, the very first E3 in Los Angeles, May 11th, Kalinske announced the release price of the Sega Saturn was going to be $399, including Virtua Fighter. He also did a surprise reveal that due to high consumer demand, we have shipped 30,000 units early by 4 months. Surprise, it's out only in a few places. Everyone was very confused.
It's also it's technically not a bad marketing scheme. It would work today. But back then, you wouldn't know if you had to go to your local Sears. Where would you go?
Well, it was only available at Toys R Us, Babbage's, Electronics Boutique, and Software, etc. But
Software, etc.
Best Buy and Walmart were pissed. All these other places were pissed. There wasn't marketing saying this was coming because everything that had been said, it's not out for 4 months. It's dropping on Saturn Day was what they were calling it. Nope, surprise.
It's a great day. I never forgot.
Yep. If it ever happened. Instead, they're like, surprise now.
It's just a Saturday that they decide?
It was going to be a specific Saturn Day, which they had talked about in interviews. And nope, they were just forced to
They
release
could have
it
said
early.
Sega Saturn Day for a Saturday.
Well, which is
Been
sad.
Really
is what it was.
clever. But yeah, they really
It's just sad.
Sadder than a regular day.
They could have called it the Sega Saturday.
Well, and Sega was concerned anyways. They, after hearing about the power of the PlayStation and the 64, they kind of realized we're not
Up to snuff.
We're not up to snuff. We need to get out ahead, and that was a decision they made. But KB Toys just didn't sell their products anymore after they were screwed on release, and other places were pissed off. Very famously,
Standing ground.
yeah. Sony had their press conference.
Look how it turned out for all of them.
Sony had their press conference afterwards, and the guy came up, said one number, and just left. The whole conference was just him saying one number.
69.
Close.
Brad,
close.
can you show us your Halo 2 tattoo? Oh, it's beautiful.
But no, he just walked on stage and said $299 and left, and people freaked out because Sony's going to be cheaper than your Saturn, and
Dropped his cell phone.
That is almost a repeat of what happened in 2014 or 2013, their E3, when Xbox announced the always online DRM.
they opened it with footage of Wheel of Fortune or The Price is Right.
Yeah.
They're like TV on your Xbox, huh?
Yeah.
It's like pretty great, huh?
I
But
almost
TVs aren't already doing this.
I almost want to say
You
that
can't trade games anymore with your friends either. This is the future. We love it.
And then like Sony gets to kind of like I remember it so well. Like Cock of the Walk gets on stage and it's just like same price or $100 cheaper. Also, here.
Here's a video
Oh,
of how you
yes.
trade. No, there was like, here's a video showing how to trade games with your
Yes,
friends.
yes.
And it just cut to them handing a game to each other and laughing.
And then everyone flipped their gourd.
They should
It's
have added
almost
some
the-
suckets after it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's almost the same thing that happened in 2020 when Xbox finally released their price, and then like 2 days later, Sony came out and was like, ours is the same price.
No, I think it's a little bit different because this one wasn't such a dunk.
Definitely, yeah. But
I feel like with this one, the difference key being is that you have to rely on the consumer now. It's not just like a complete
Right.
like absolute destruction. This is not Nagasaki, you know?
I'm just saying, Sony's always there creeping behind, waiting for somebody else to announce something so that they can be like,
I mean, they should have redesigned their ugly system and maybe I would have already had one by now.
but you also don't need one right now.
Nobody
I'd like
needs
one.
nobody needs anything right now.
The Sega Saturn had a dual CPU structure and 8 processors. The Sega of America
There are 8
president,
processors in here?
Sega of America disliked the Saturn's design and attempted to broker a deal with Silicon Graphics, but Sega said nope. They went on to Silicon Graphics went on to work with the 64 instead. Kalinsky went out of his way to try and make things better, and nothing ever worked. This released in Japan 11/22/94 and North America 5/11/95. The launch title, Virtua Fighter, sold at nearly a 1-to-1 rate. Initially, 200,000 Saturn units sold out on the first day.
Was it a pack-in?
For Virtua Fighter, yes.
Okay.
Didn't they also do like a Daytona USA Virtua Fighter something or other else pack in, like a trio?
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
In the U.S., their launch titles, they had Clockwork Knight, Daytona USA, Pebble
yeah.
Beach Golf Links, Panzer Dragoon, Virtua Fighter, and Worldwide Soccer.
Daytona's awesome.
Yeah, Sega Saturn didn't have bad games. You're a big Saturn guy, right, Josh?
It was like the cheaper Neo Geo. It was the arcade console, and I still feel the same way about Dreamcast. They're very arcade-esque for their games. So and they're not trying to do exactly what PlayStation's doing, but they had a lot of the same games, and some games played way better in the Saturn, and some did not.
So
Well, I think that Sega in general is the arcade publisher.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if they were competing with Nintendo, I think they knew, like, we can only compete in, like, Japanese arcades. So there's, like, there were, like, a million Sega
Think
Japanese
about it right
arcades.
now. Are there any games
No, they
that were on the 64 and the Saturn? That is a thought.
Maybe.
I mean,
Besides, like, sports titles, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot, but it's funny because Sega was making 3D games popular with Virtua Fighter and Virtua Racing in the arcades, and they were making 3D games a big deal. But when they were developing the Saturn, they weren't aiming for like a 3D powerhouse. And then early 1994, to better compete with the PlayStation, Sega decided to add another video display processor, and essentially what they wound up doing with the hardware, this became very difficult for developers to make games for. It was kind of clunky the way they started adding stuff near the end there, but yes, they sold 200,000 units the first day. Sega waited to release more until the December 3rd launch of the PlayStation weeks later to sell them side by side. Sold for $399.
Oof. The PlayStation sold for $300, right?
Yep, $299.
Okay.
The best-selling game was Madden NFL 1997. The second was Nights into Dreams. And
Sounds about right.
yes, we'd already talked about a lot of the reasons why it kind of stumbled out of the gate, but I think one of the main problems with the Sega Saturn was they were making this little game called Sonic the Hedgehog Extreme, which was going to be Sonic's first 3D game, and it never came.
Have you ever seen photos of allegedly what it was?
There's a video of what it looks like, and it is baffling.
Is it baffling because it looks worse or better than
looks
what
bad.
we actually got?
We're actually about to look this up right
Okay,
now.
I'll show you a quick video. It's worth seeing.
This actually shaped a lot of what Sonic ended up being, because from this, the development cycle of Sonic Adventure completely changed.
So it's still 2D-ish.
Oh, we get a Sonic 2 trailer as well.
Did you guys see Sonic 2 yet?
Delivers on all counts.
Can't believe Sonic raves.
So it features a fisheye lens.
Oh, it's not 2D then. Like 2D with a 3D, whatever.
There's actually a fan-made game that looks like this still.
Oh, no, yeah, this looks
Not fun.
not.
There is a fan-made game. I think it's called...
This makes me think of the spots
remember
in
what it's
Sonic
called.
CD there. Oh,
So wait, the fisheye lens is what they were going for.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks
They-
terrible.
It's basically Nights into Dreams. Like, that's the kind of camera they use for that. So I think they were thinking that was kind of the wave of the future in 3D, whereas, as we're about to probably talk about, Nintendo kind of flipped that pretty hard.
Yeah, there was major development hell for Sonic Extreme. It wasn't working. They tried to force people to stay and work really long hours, and it just got canceled. And I think one of the big problems with the Sega Saturn is no Sonic, and they stumbled out of the gate. And I don't know.
there's a shit ton of fighters on it though that are pretty good.
What are
It
some of your
could probably
favorite?
run 32 like
What are some of your favorite games you have on here?
What is this?
Oh, the Street Fighter Alpha game. Yeah. Which you're pulling out right now.
Josh is like, be careful. That's Street Fighter.
No, yeah, definitely.
So I bought a lot of the Japanese versions because the U.S. market ones were so expensive. And with this Action Replay, which most Saturn players that have one now use that, saved me a ton of money. At the same time, I wish I would have bought the American releases a few years ago. They're all like triple times what their triple times worth is now.
The secondhand market is not okay.
It is. Not
Is there a
okay.
memory? Do you need a memory card for this, or is it built into the system?
It needs a new battery, I believe. So my battery on here does not save. So
It's internal.
At the same time, or maybe it does need a memory card. I don't think so. I think it.
I didn't see a slot.
Yeah,
No.
On the back?
yeah. So I think it needs memory in the internal, but the battery is out on that thing. But yeah, a good thing. A lot of the games are arcade style. You pick up and play it. You don't need to save. It's just like old school
is the
games.
battery
Remember
right
that?
Yeah, I mean, like, especially like things like Street Fighter. It was before an era where they had so many like unlockables. And they
Yeah.
tried to keep you so engrossed that it would. Yeah, no, we're just all really paying attention to a literal. Josh brought in his actual Sega Saturn. We have it right here with us right now.
Pristine.
Yeah,
It's in pristine condition.
yeah,
I am
we are-
so impressed by this.
And
to be
every time
very
we touch it, Josh is like, "That's
No, that's for playing, man.
just be careful when you hold my baby."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't want to break anything.
Yeah, that's
Yo, it is beautiful shape. Yeah,
It's got what-
I saw that
yeah.
a long time ago at a video game store. I think I paid like $50-$60 for it.
Yeah. Sega had a lot of great games. Tomb Raider was
Die
actually
Hard Arcade.
Tomb Raider was originally on the Sega Saturn before it came to the PlayStation.
Was it?
I
Really
heard that
before?
once.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I mean,
I
Lara
didn't know
Croft
that for
definitely
sure, though.
became like a PlayStation
Hottie.
character. Like, you say hottie?
Yeah.
I love spear
Polygons, man.
Polly. Oh man.
Yeah.
Spear tits.
Yeah.
The best.
How can you not think of that right now?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And it also,
Yeah.
I mean, it had Castlevania Symphony of the Night was on the Saturn.
Oh geez, I didn't even know that.
Maria Renard was playable in that one. Suikoden, there was a
first
a
one?
Saturn version as well.
I had no idea.
Yeah. It had some, and Lunar, the Silver Stars RPG was
some
originally a Saturn
platformers.
title.
Always wanted to
Yeah.
play it, never could.
Yeah, it's great on the PlayStation 1.
I bought Kip a dating simulator at MGC last year for the Sega Saturn.
Beautiful.
Because he has one as well. So there's tons of games for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has a decent library considering it didn't last as long, I don't think. But, you know, and I was tempted to get one. I was always on the fence. Do I want PlayStation or do I want Saturn? I'm like, well, I always lean PlayStation, but I'm like, oh, if I can't get one,
So how old were you in 1994, Josh?
10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were hustling then. You're like, I need to get these consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta have them. But yeah, I got my PlayStation 1 was the first one I ever bought. Man, it was so hard to get a PlayStation.
Yeah.
When it dropped to $199. Mm-hmm. I was gonna get it when it was $299, and then and I had enough saved, and I think I was probably like $10 away with tax and shit. I didn't have enough, but and then they announced like, oh, it's $199. I'm like, yes, let's go to the store. Nope. Took me like 2 months to find one. I called every store every day. Like I called Shopko's, Walmart's, and like from like a 45-minute hour radius.
Hi, my name is Josh.
It was a little higher
Do you
pitched.
like Ghostbusters?
I
you seen
did
it?
ask everyone, and everyone said yeah. So
And
it
then,
went well.
then you found it.
Yeah, actually, I think it was Shopko in town.
Nice.
Yeah.
They're like,
Shopko.
they're like, Josh's going to quit calling us now, finally.
Fuck yeah. Yo, you got my PlayStation? I'm 10 years old. I want my PlayStation.
I imagine you do have the same voice as you do now.
I
as a
imagine
10-year-old.
you're just a 4-foot version of you, still just as like buff.
all tattoos.
Do you guys have any beer here?
You're wearing the Chet wig.
Speaking of beer, what else would you pour for us? Josh?
Drecker Brewing is one of
we
our
love
favorite
Drecker.
beers. This is their coconut milk stout called
lovely.
it's called Heaps.
Heaps. Because it has heaps of coconut, I'm guessing.
I
Is
haven't
it
tried it
Australian?
yet.
Maybe
It's a 7%er, so it's definitely not going to be overkill or anything. It's
You know
supposed to be
what?
a
I
nice
put
milk stout.
toasty.
I would put this in a curry, man.
You know what's weird is I don't like coconut in like I don't like it as a food in most things. For some reason anything with beer,
wow.
coconut just is so nice.
You know what? This
I'm a
could
coconut
actually,
boy.
ooh, this
I don't get a strong coconut flavor. It's just a good milk stout.
You can. It's forward like on the nose.
On the nose, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take some sips of this. We're gonna hear from some of the other amazing shows from the HyperX Podcast Network, and we'll be right back.
Sure thing.
Explode When Defeated presents something really neat and full of meat.
Those children aren't going to protect themselves in a brand new podcast series about everyone's favorite giant reptile.
Godzilla?
No, we already did that one.
Rodan?
No, we did that one too.
Gorgo?
Gamera. We're talking about Gamera.
From turtles to medieval samurai golems on our new series, Demolition Daiei.
Only on the HyperX Podcast Network.
Us. We're the Spirit Hunters, and we're a show that treats Hunter x Hunter and Yu Hakusho's author as the center of the universe. Some weeks we do linguistic analysis. The Chinese meaning of this character is to smelt or refine, but so the changed meaning in Japanese it means to temper. Other times, we get absolutely smashed.
So we take one shot every time. Yusuke uses the ray gun.
1 hour later.
This is the least coherent episode.
Sarah,
I think your pirate is haunting.
Check us out at the HyperX Podcast Network.
New this April from HyperX, it's the HyperX Clutch Controller. Get better control of your mobile gaming with its comfortable grip, directional pad, analog sticks, and shoulder buttons. This versatile controller can fit a variety of phone widths and can also connect wirelessly for use on tablets and PCs. Learn more and pick one up online at hyperxandhp.com, Amazon, Micro Center, Target, Best Buy, and other fine retailers.
And we're back, everybody.
It's great to be back, Brad.
Oh, man, what a break. We went and played Way of the Warrior to completion. It was great. Don't tell Tom. We went in his closet, found his 3DO behind all of the handcuffs.
Yeah. You know, I really love that game because I love playing as Captain Dingo, the Staffmaster.
It's a beautiful game. And there's two other Titans we haven't really mentioned in this console generation yet.
Dom's looking confused. There's an actual character in the game.
No,
okay.
I know. I listened to the episode.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for you guys to talk about Jake the Snake.
Wait a minute. The professional wrestler?
No, I'm pretty sure he's the character in
I think that might be the character I was referencing, but I came up with a more clever and snarky nickname for him.
At the heart of Nintendo 64 and the Sony Playstation battle,
here we go,
is cartridges and CDs. Nintendo...
Fuck yeah, love them both.
They're both great. No, they're both great, but Nintendo very famously likes to have strict control over everything that's released on their systems. And you have to pay to use their cartridges.
And you don't?
Well, I mean, there's a major price. Cartridges for the 64 each cartridge costs someone $3.50 to put a game on. With the PlayStation CD, it costs them 35 cents. Profit margin. Like, it's there up front. And
that is a 90% margin right there.
Considering 64 games were typically
100%
$69.99, I believe, brand new. And PlayStation got to a point where they were doing a lot of them at $39.99, which was awesome, which is why I had quite a few PlayStation games, too.
Yeah.
I mean, even the generation previous to this, literal like cartridges had different prices. It wasn't like all Nintendo games are this much on the base. It was always like if you wanted Final Fantasy VI, it was like $80. I remember like
Legend
a cousin talking about
was
it.
Wasn't that like 80 or 100 or something?
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country, when it came out, was like another more expensive game,
I think
too.
that was $59.99 or something like that.
Yeah, but there wasn't like a standardized price yet. 64 games were more expensive than PlayStation ones, though.
They were. I didn't buy a lot of them back then, but definitely snagged them when the collecting market was kind of becoming a thing.
Yeah.
I actually probably have 164 games at least.
For the 64?
I snagged them for like $1, $2, $3. Just finding them at random thrift stores and, back when the used video game stores weren't too expensive. And now it's like, dude, I do not buy new games.
When it was niche, and I remember going in with like cousins and stuff and just like being like, whoa, like this is only like $3. And someone would be like, I'll buy that for you.
Funko Land used to have NES games for 15 cents, 37 cents. What the fuck? I'd be like, do you have any of these? And they're like out. People were actually buying the shit out of all of them. Like way back, like in the late 90s. This is like that 64 era when I bought my 64 used from Funko Land.
Yeah.
But so one of the reasons that 64 kind of scared off a lot of developers were not only the licensing costs, the ability to use these cartridges, but also just breaking down the space. CDs could hold way more information, way more data, and one of the nails in the coffin was Squaresoft making the decision to move Final Fantasy franchise because we want to do something new, we want to do something exciting, and the 64 just is not going to work.
Listen to our famous Final Fantasy VII episode.
Could they not have made that work?
No, they could not.
4 cartridges.
No, for what? I forget the number. It's something stupid. It would have taken like 50 cartridges for what was on the PlayStation.
Come on, Nintendo.
I think there was only 64 in a cartridge, which is why they called it the Nintendo 64.
It's because
strange theory.
That's the 64 bits that runs like the graphics engine. It depending on, but that's the thing. Like if you made a cartridge, you could put a different number of things in there. Like that's why they were so unique, and that's why they all cost something different. Is because each of them had their own thing going on. Like Star Fox for the Super Nintendo was a lot more money because it had the virtual effects chip, the VFX,
Right.
the turbo. Sorry.
Well, the maximum storage capacity of any official Nintendo 64 game cartridge was 64 megabytes.
Whoa, you got it. I'm sorry.
That's
I was
not,
wrong.
man.
that's
That's
not
why
why it's called the Nintendo 64, though. It's called that for the 64 bits, not for the storage size.
It's the running space.
But it is the same storage.
There is like a lot of 64s going on.
Yeah.
From what I remember when I was a kid. I was like,
yeah.
it makes sense. Cause
Every
like when you're-
game was called something 64.
A PlayStation CD could hold 650 megabytes of data. The 64 at most 64. So I mean, that's.
I think at the time it made sense for them to call it the Nintendo 64 because everything was just pointing to that number.
Yeah.
It works.
And it worked, and that's a brilliant system. I don't know how you guys feel about the N64. I got it late. My mom refused to buy me video game systems. I got it when I was 10, and it was 2000. It was the year 2000.
I snagged it late too. I waited, WrestleMania 2000 when No Mercy was. I played that at my friend's house,
Yeah.
and once No Mercy was coming out, I'm like, fuck.
I don't know.
I'm getting that.
Yeah, I don't know how late you guys got it, but I got
I got mine way too late.
I got the edition the Donkey Kong edition that was like that
Jungle
see-through-
Green.
the see-through jungle
Actually,
green.
that's what I got too.
Oh, you got the jungle
yeah,
green?
because-
They need to bring back those
Honestly.
Yeah.
Translucent.
I got
Those are cool.
Mine was the atomic purple.
Oh, cool.
Which
Yeah.
was my favorite
Yeah.
color of Game Boy.
That one was.
I got it at home right now.
I love
Wanna
that one
play?
so much.
Yeah. So I got that green edition, but I asked my parents like because they were talking about I had a subscription to like Game Informer and they were talking about like wait to get the system because it's about to come out with that expansion pack thing that you plug in the front.
Yeah.
Yep.
And-
No, and the slot that's right in front of the cartridge
The
slot.
4
Right.
megabyte or whatever, right?
Yeah. That gives you like the extra 4.
Yes.
It did help, by
And-
the way.
Yeah, but I wanted that because Donkey Kong was about to come out.
You couldn't
That
play
was the
those games
console, and
without
you couldn't
it.
play without it.
I know.
And so I was
Psychotic.
like, I'll just wait. I can wait a year or two or however long it was. I don't even remember, but I said just wait. And the fact that like I got that one that had all of that bundled in, it came with like the Rumble Pack thing that you plug in the back. I think it might have also come with like maybe I bought Pokemon Stadium.
Stadium was popular
Yeah.
at the time.
And-
Did you have the connector to plug in your
My
Game Boy game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's possible.
I forgot about that thing.
I don't remember specifically.
I don't know if that
I got
all came
Pokemon Stadium
bundled.
right away because I'm Dylan.
Yeah. You are.
Yeah. But
So-
this was also around the time, like, I still had a regular, like, an original Nintendo with, like, a lot of games that kept me occupied.
That's
and
true.
then it disappeared mysteriously. I'm using air quotes here.
You and your mom and I, we're gonna have a talk.
Yeah. You should.
One of the coolest
we
things
film it?
about the 64, this was the first console in a long time to have 4 controller ports on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
That,
great.
that was
So
something that
good.
they hadn't included in a long time. And one thing the 64, I think, definitely wins out on are party games.
It changed video gaming forever.
Smash Brothers,
Mario Party.
GoldenEye, Mario Kart, Mario Party.
Dude, it changed video game to the point where when the Xbox came out, 4 controller ports on
Dreamcast
every
did it,
console
though.
after that.
Yeah, you had to.
Dreamcast had 4.
Except Sony
Still with
With PlayStation 2, yeah.
and PlayStation 3. I guess at that point it
That
was
was
wireless. Okay.
wireless-ish.
But even then,
Wait a minute.
You could
Did-
plug them all.
Sony was never
did
really a big
PS3
multiplayer
have
machine even.
Did the early
No.
PS3s have a 4 USB?
It didn't.
or-
Well,
They
at
didn't.
that point, it's wireless.
Bluetooth,
Oh, yeah.
You could charge them, and you could charge them plugging it in. Like I'm a PlayStation 3 expert. Let's be honest. That was a game system that annihilated me. I love it. But with the N64, one thing I found is that all of like the popular kids had N64s, and all the lonelier kids had PlayStations.
But they had girlfriends by the name of Tifa and Eris. So
Oh my
who really
gosh.
And also,
Well, one of them died.
won? Or like my
so-
brother who named something else. I forget. He named him after girls in our school.
that he liked.
Yeah.
That's funny. I'm gonna tease Brian about
Bet
that.
he regrets that.
Well, and I mean, the games are all different, but one of the things that the PlayStation had ahead of the 64. 64 didn't come out in America until September 1996. PlayStation came out like 11 months before that.
Yeah.
And Sony came out fucking charging.
Swinging.
Within 2 days of
Swinging and danging.
Within 2 days of its launch, it had sold more than the Sega Saturn had in 5 months.
Oh, yeah.
The PlayStation came out, put a pillow over the Sega Saturn and said, "You can go to bed now. I'm the captain of this ship now.
I'm killing you.
I'm the captain now."
And the PlayStation, like you had mentioned, it had story games. It was definitely kind of leaning more on the single player experience,
Dude.
And
so many good ones though.
This is Final Fantasy VII era, right?
Metal Gear Solid.
Yes, Final Fantasy VII sold a shitload of PlayStations.
Yep.
Plus, they came out with like a 20 million marketing campaign just for the game. Like, people were aware that the PlayStation looked different because they just showed those FMVs of Cloud riding that motorcycle, and people said, "What is this? Is this a movie?" Mm-hmm. And looking back now, that's really funny. But people were blown away at the time.
I mean, everyone's an idiot until they're not.
Yeah, I mean,
guys, you had to be there.
You actually had to be there.
You were just born. You can't expect.
I was 7. I saw it.
and I know Sony at the time were like, we want to make a 2D game for your system. We don't want that so much. Trust me, Symphony of the Night's going to be great.
That game should have been much more popular than what it was, though.
But it was stinky poo poo 2D, and
what game?
We wanted 3D gaming, Dylan.
I would rather go back and play Symphony of the Night than Final Fantasy VII any day.
But what about
the week.
Castlevania: Legacy of Darkness 64?
No.
I tried playing that once. I was at a brewery in Seattle or Portland, I forget where, and they had Castlevania 64 available. And there were people doing trivia downstairs. And they told me, "Can you turn the
Is
TV
that the
down?"
subtitle of
and
it?
I was just playing. Well, there's Castlevania 64, and then they released another version with like 2 more characters called Legacy of Darkness.
Oh, I thought it was
Aren't
just called
those horrible?
Castlevania 64. So yeah.
Well, there's the second
I know.
one
There's
is
the
Legacy.
there's the expansion essentially.
Yeah, it's the same game with like another character too.
I just remember fighting a big skeleton
Don't
in
you
an open
point at
field.
me.
On a
I was
motorcycle
wondering
too.
what your question was.
Was I on a motorcycle?
But no, to be less sarcastic, you're right. The 2D games were great, and a lot of people were just so focused. But having Redbook audio, having just high quality audio coming out of these machines was awesome.
Yeah.
There was still some 2D. There's a handful of 2D platformers on PlayStation 1 though too. Like when you had those Lunar games and like Rayman, Gex was on it.
Crash Bandicoot, Croc, Legend of
Croc
the
was
Gobos.
3D, but
Have you guys ever played the Klonoa games?
Yeah, they're fucking weird and good.
They're fucking awesome. And I'm glad they're being remade for the Switch, to be honest.
Well, yeah, and I remember
The first 2 Klonoa games, yeah.
I'm gonna put in this.
that is.
I'm gonna put the sound effect in, but just imagine what the PlayStation 1 sounded like starting up.
It's kind of really brilliant design.
It's soothing.
Like very calming, yeah.
It
makes
sounds
me go-
powerful. It sounds like an entertainment center. It sounds like home power.
They must have tried so hard.
And got so far.
I know.
In the end, it
didn't
really mattered.
Nope, it didn't. No.
Because they already
Well, not
fucking
anymore.
shit up. I don't know. I do love that intro.
But I remember
Linkin Park's great.
my buddy brought over his PlayStation 1. And at the time, I was playing Super Nintendo thinking I was the baller. And this guy brings over Crash Bandicoot 2 on the PlayStation.
Really?
And I have never needed something so bad before.
Right, and that's like I said earlier in the episode, like when I went over to my friend's place and played Thrasher skateboarding, like if you look it up now,
Skate
it
and
looks
Destroy?
like shit.
Nope. I've seen pictures of Thrash.
But I remember playing it and being like, I feel like I'm fucking skateboarding.
I mean, that came out after Tony Hawk, didn't it?
I'm
pretty sure.
If not around the same time, they were
Yeah.
trying to catch up.
It might have been like
the
the Tony Hawk 2 era when that
something,
came
yeah.
out. Well, if you can
But I remember-
I can do it too.
I can wear a hoodie and skateboard. That's like real life for me.
I don't have to skateboard anymore in real life.
I don't have to do anything outside of my bedroom.
I just want to be a fantasy soldier who makes me forget about my life.
I'm Solid Snake and also 10 years old.
It's like I killed her.
Dom's just screaming, "Die!" with his zapper at the screen.
We're gonna have to sell this video game console very fast, Vito.
So I pictured. I was thinking about it earlier when you were talking about how your mom thought that your like video game thing was like, it's so against what we believe in and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the Hamburger Mary's brunch show, and
Here we go.
And I just had this vision of me like because a lot of people were going like yes queen still. Because I don't know, it's like 2010 again. I still say it too, but like for fun and funniness, not like actually like being like, you know.
Yeah, but they appreciate it as queens.
But if I just like, yes, slay.
Is that what you did?
No.
No, they would probably think you're a freak.
You just clapped and like, cool.
No, yeah, they pointed at me and went like, oh yeah, but I'm just picturing myself like doing like annoyingly to a certain degree, just sitting at a drag show going, yes, slay queen.
I have no segues to get us back to the console war.
That's fine.
Well, I will
From this
say,
story.
I will say that
It's in there.
Hopefully, one of those drag queens would be like, "This dude's playing Elden Ring for sure."
Speaking of slaying, Sony was slaying the numbers.
Don't ever bring up Elden Ring.
At some point, October 1995, Saturn drops the price to $299. PlayStation dropped theirs May 1996 to $199 to compete with the Ultra 64's release. The old, well, that's what they were calling it before
right?
the Nintendo 64.
I remember that.
Well, there was Nintendo, then there was Super Nintendo, and this is going to be the Ultra 64, which, whatever.
Sure.
After Ultra, they're like, what's bigger than that? Mega good. Mega good Nintendo.
Platinum?
I like it. I want the Ultra 64. They should re-release it.
The Infinite 64.
That's not bad.
Well,
That's
Nintendo is
Xbox.
basically like calling your movie The Avengers and then adding something to it.
Sure.
Now that's just how it is. You don't say, people say Switch, but for the most part, I hear people say Nintendo Switch. They use the full name of it.
I really hope that whatever they do next,
The Super
like
Switch.
sidebar, I hope it's the Super Switch. I think
it's
that'd be
going to
so
be.
good if they just like go back to roots and just call it the Super Switch.
It's
I
going
think
to
that'd be
be.
fucking dope.
That'd be the perfect way to convey this
they
is a
might-
more powerful version of what we had before.
And also, I think it's
And
going
a
to be
Super Game Boy attachment so you can play your Game Boy games.
It might have Wii. It might have Wii U syndrome then, though.
No, I don't
The
think
Wii,
so.
if it was called the Super Wii versus the Wii U, I think it would have been a lot more understood. But
Switch
even
U?
then, I don't think I hate the Wii name as well. It worked, but
Oh no,
it worked for one moment.
cartridges, though, one of the reasons also Nintendo chose this, besides to like fight piracy, was they also wanted shorter loading times. And cartridges, you put it in and you play it. They were concerned
awesome.
15 seconds of loading times for Meteor to be summoned sucked. Like, we don't want that.
I mean, I'll tell you this much. Not to bring up Elden Ring, but
Elden Ring?
I started playing Elden Ring on an Xbox One.
Yeah, you did.
And then I'm playing on an Xbox Series X. And I feel like such a dang fool. I feel like such a loser. I'm like, oh my God, I just sat through all that? Like, why did I choose to do this? Like, I mean, it's all I had, but at the same time, I'm like,
But
oh,
no, you
man.
didn't know. You were like, they're not that bad, and this game, it looks great, even though it's on the original one. And then you get the new one, and you're like,
To be fair, once it loads,
like,
it's
why didn't
perfect.
anyone? You called me like, why didn't anyone tell me?
Yeah.
We
I
have
tried-
been
I-
telling.
I
We've been
tried
yelling
to.
at you, man. We've
But
been yelling at you.
I needed some. Well, literally, Tom texted me. He's like, a Series X is on sale on Walmart. Do you want it? I'm like, I don't know if I have the money. Yes.
But you do. You
I
did
one
have the
now.
money.
Yeah, I technically did, but I like to have like a certain storage of money to squirrel away like a little squirrel with nuts.
Is there an Elden Ring character that like saves runes on the side?
I don't know.
Because then you can use that.
I'm more the dung eater, so I don't know. It's fine. Continue, Bradley.
Okay.
Hi guys.
The Nintendo 64, you were right. It is the cool system, though, too. When you go to a friend's house, everyone sits around playing 4-player, and I didn't have a 64, so I'd show up, and I didn't know how Mario Kart 64, I didn't get it. People playing GoldenEye, and it was not something I understood at the time. And it's because I wasn't cool. I was too busy being lonely playing story games.
GoldenEye was important, but I'll tell you this: try playing it now.
Oh, it's shit. Absolute garb.
I can play it.
I thought it back
Better than
then.
you guys.
Well,
You chose Odd Job too, so
I played it all, baby.
This is the age of the analog stick, and something that needed to be added because of 3D gaming.
well, they needed 2 analog sticks, but we only had 1.
Nintendo, though, at least had one when they came out.
But
which
we had the C buttons.
Sega
bro.
Saturn did not when it came out.
To aim.
The PlayStation did not have when it came out. Eventually it did with the DualShock.
Yeah.
Sega Saturn did get one later in that big circle controller thing that they did.
Oh yeah, the Knights controller, right?
Yep. And, but yeah, you were mentioning about the analog stick in your palm. Why don't you say what
I
you
have the
what you meant?
scars in my palm still.
Can I see?
Oh, he's showing us now.
I'm kidding.
No, it's like a
That's
stigmata.
from lifting weights.
Is it from the track level of?
Well, you play
Mario
games
Party?
like Mario Party, yeah.
There's
oh
like
my
one
God.
specific Mario Party game that really did it, right?
all of them.
It's the track game, I think, or it's the one where you have to
you
like.
just gotta
line
spin. There's a
something up.
ton of them. You go back and forth. You spin it in 360s. Now turn the other way and like use your center of your hand.
Didn't Nintendo have to
just
send out
gouge
gloves?
it.
Have you ever?
Didn't they send out
Yeah, they
gloves
did.
to people?
Nobody used them.
But the fact that you can have Nintendo send you gloves is really cool.
Have you ever gotten
wish
good
I
at
had a
just
glove.
tapping?
I've gotten good at the Wii jerk off motion.
Oh,
You play a lot of Imagine Party Babies.
Yeah, I have. I actually have.
he loves those babies.
But yeah, the 64 controller was. I remember when it came out. I'm like, that is fucking ugly. And not until I played it, I'm like, it works. It's crazy to think, but it works. It's still stupid as shit looking, but games work on it.
Josh, I will tell you this. It did work, and I immediately went out to GameStop and bought a Mad Catz controller at least 2 days after I got my 64 for Christmas.
Nice, dude.
That was always a
By
tricky.
Mad Catz, like, was it like the same style?
It looked
or-
like a PlayStation controller, kind of.
Okay, so I wasn't aware that even existed. I know that they had shittier Mad Catz, like blockier, bigger 64 controllers that were like the size of
The Duke?
3 Dukes.
Yeah. Well,
I never actually would play with one of those if it.
I was very good at convincing my parents I needed a game or a console, but for some reason I couldn't convince them that spend an extra $5 on the official controller. They're like, "Oh, this works," and that was for guests whenever they came over. But
Yeah, you get that.
It's
one.
like when I was 15 and I asked for a cell phone and I didn't have a job yet. And then I got like one of those like burner phones, and I'm like, Mom, this is for drug dealers, and she's like, it'll work for you though.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that controller, but
It had the actual joystick in it.
That is disgusting looking.
that is
But-
ugly.
But because I was left-handed, I was like, this doesn't, like the actual like 64 controller didn't work
you
for
couldn't
me.
do it.
Yeah.
because it's
Left-handed?
three. Well, the N64 famously has 3 compartments essentially.
3
for your
prongs,
hands.
yep.
Yeah. So it's like either you do analog
Or D-pad.
or D-pad. That's
Or-
pretty
some
much
games
it.
have both.
Yeah, you had the option, but generally
But then
people
the-
always use the analog.
But then that middle one never gets used for those games. Like I remember playing Pokemon Stadium for the first time and being like, "Oh, you have to use the outside shit because you're just literally using a D-pad." It's basically 3D Pokemon. I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Something I want to talk about while we have time. The Nintendo 64, besides having dope-ass party games, had Mario 64.
Yes.
Which there has never been a more like changing the game type moment than Mario 64, defining platforms. Platforming, yes. Tom is in the house, everybody.
Don't acknowledge him. Don't look at him
we
in
don't
the
look at
eyes.
we don't look at Tom.
Fucking real.
Yes, Mario 64 though did revolutionize platformers at the time. People were freaking out at this.
Yeah.
And
That blew my mind.
and PlayStation owners were playing Croc, Legend of the Gobos, whatever they call them. Did you guys play the Zelda games on the 64?
Yes,
Not
absolutely.
really.
Both of them.
Surprisingly not.
Ocarina
Both
of
them.
Time and Majora's
Ocarina of
Mask.
Time and Majora's Mask. I played both of them, and I love both of them.
Okay.
More so,
Dylan's being silly.
I am being silly.
more so Majora's
Silly.
Mask than Ocarina of Time for me.
Okay.
These games were big deals, but
Controversial, by the way.
Hey,
I mean, you're an ed. You're just an.
I'm
you're
a
just an
fucking
edgelord.
edgelord, dude.
You were listening to new metal. You're like listening to Linkin Park Hybrid
Yeah.
Theory, and you're just
Yeah,
playing.
yeah, yeah,
That wasn't until like
Majora's Mask.
Corn with the
99.
backward R? Are you kidding me?
Yes. No, I prefer corn with the forward R.
and also a C. Yes. There's nothing like a corn tortilla with your tacos.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm. That is generally considered by a lot of people still to be the best game of all time. Which
Ocarina?
Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. Which I don't agree with, but like I understand why people think that.
It's nostalgia.
It's the same reason why people think that Breath of the Wild is the best Zelda game of all time, when both you and I know that it's not actually a Zelda game.
It's true.
You guys are real clickbaity sometimes.
And Elden Ring dominates it. Whatever, BuzzFeed.
It is, guys. You know why it is a Zelda game? Because it's a Zelda game.
Well, they called it. It's fine.
Just because it doesn't do what other Zelda games have done doesn't make it can redefine something and still be a Zelda game.
So let's imagine that the new Mario game comes out tomorrow, and it's not actually.
And Mario has a gun.
That Mario has got a gun.
And you're like, this isn't a Mario game.
Hey
but
guys,
it's cool.
What if it's
here's
like
the
a
fun
plumber
thing about
gun
this topic is Mario has had a game where he does have a gun.
Right.
What?
Is it a Mario game?
Are you talking about Sunshine because he has flood?
No, I'm talking about Rabbids and.
Oh.
Yeah.
But those are like spin-offs.
Well, it isn't
exactly.
But that's not,
is it a Mario game?
But that's not a Mario game. That's a Rabbids game.
It's kind of more of a Rabbids
It's
game.
more of an XCOM game.
What is a Rabbid?
They're, for some reason, like some minion-looking fucking rabbits that people love, including me. I love that game, but...
Josh just gave us such a look. Like, what's a rabbit?
You guys are fucking weird.
The best-selling game for the PlayStation 1, Crash Bandicoot 1. 2 and 3 would be Gran Turismo and Final Fantasy 7.
Of course.
The best-selling game for the Nintendo 64 is, of course, Mario 64. Of
course.
Number 2 and 3 would be GoldenEye and Mario Kart 64.
Yes.
The Jaguar did attempt to survive. We are adding the Jaguar. We have the Jaguar CD. Please buy. They had 13 games for it. It didn't do well.
Wow.
And now everybody's
13.
dead.
For the Jaguar CD, which was like a 32X attachment.
Is that less than the Virtual Boy?
Yes. But the CD, it's more like a 32X type thing. It's a supplement to an existing console. So it's terrible. It is terrible, but it's not like a standalone. I don't know. It is a confusing piece of BS is what it is. But
yeah.
And Sega Saturn got a new VP in Bernie Stoller at E3 1997. When the Saturn's still around, he comes out and he says the Saturn is not our future, which I don't know why you would go out there and kill yourself in front of everybody, but he did. And yeah, so let's hear some comments from our community on this.
I'd love to hear this, actually. What do we got, Brad?
Stoy from our Discord says, PlayStation 1 was the very first console I bought with my first work paycheck. Walked right into Best Buy after cashing it. Felt like a big boy. I had fun memories playing games like Resident Evil. It was how I connected with my best friend to this day. Gran Turismo, I flunked my first college semester because I was addicted to Gran Turismo. And the system where I discovered great RPGs like Final Fantasy VII, Chrono Cross, Vagrant Story, and Grandia. Memories.
Yeah, Stoy, if you haven't listened to our Resident Evil episode, I'm sure you have, but I have very, very same and similar nostalgia for that exact thing. All right, so we also got Ryan. Brother and I mowed so many lawns to get a PS1. We had an NES, and we're okay with just playing any new console games when at other friends' houses. But we decided that we had to get a PS1, all because of one game. You guessed it, Final Fantasy VII.
Fighting Force?
Josh's favorite game. Fighting Force was good. Here.
Fighting Force.
Josh, would you read from
go
Kip?
ahead.
Oh, where's Kip? Oh, hi, Kip. I was such a Sega fan that I didn't even consider an N64 a PSX, which is something that was used later on.
The PSX was the code name for it when they were developing it.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Well, anyways, I was so rudely interrupted and went straight for the Saturn. I was really into fighting games, so I loved that thing. I still have it. Ask Dom.
I said that earlier.
Shut up. I played so much Virtua Fighter, Fighting Vipers. I like that one. Toshinden. I like this Shinden. Last
Battle
Bronx.
Arena Toshinden?
Battle Arena Toshinden. Mm-hmm. But did you play Battle Arena Toshinden too?
No.
Okay.
Didn't the first one have Cloud in it?
Oh, shit.
You're thinking Energize.
I think you're thinking of Kingdom Hearts.
Shush.
Whoa.
I also love the Mega Mix, where you fight as a car from Daytona, USA. I have that game.
That was a fighting character.
Yeah,
Very
I have
weird.
that game at home.
That
It's
is
fun.
fucked.
Yeah, you can be a car. I think
Does it look
there's
like
a
Lightning
bear.
McQueen?
Yeah.
Kinda.
Panzer Dragoon is still a favorite of mine. The game itself was fun, and the world was so weird and interesting, like myself. Eventually,
True, kid.
He's
I
reading.
added
He's
that.
reading off of a screen, ladies and gentlemen.
Eventually,
If it sounds
stores stopped carrying Sega Saturn games, and I begrudgingly got a PlayStation. That obviously ended up being awesome. I'll join
That's the
Stoy
French PlayStation.
and Rai on Final Fantasy VII Train 2. That's still my favorite game.
Final Fantasy
I'm
VII?
Kip,
Yeah, for Kip.
and that is all.
All right. Do you want to read from Gerald Lev, Dylan?
Which one?
Oh, Gerald.
Gerald Lev.
He's a friend of ours that is involved in the Portland Retro Gaming Expo.
Procuring cheap Saturn games at Funkoland. Importing gems like X-Men vs. Street Fighter and Radiant Silvergun. Also, mind-blowing game experiences not possible on previous hardware, like Resident Evil and Metal Gear Solid. Mario 64 was a game changer that redefined 3D gaming. Good times.
All right. And from Chris Mogard, my cousin, says, still have my PlayStation 1, but I do love a good session on the Nintendo 64. Friend of the podcast, Justin Brown, says, I think a lot of it depended on how many you played with. Still today, Nintendo has most of the best multiplayer games, and PlayStation has most of the best single-player games. Mm-hmm. And John Schmood,
Schmoud?
he says, I still own...
It's pronounced Smoff.
I still own a PlayStation and a Nintendo 64. I really enjoy the Nintendo 64 for party games like Mario Party, but the PlayStation was revolutionary.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of hours on Resident Evil, Gran Turismo, and a slew of other titles. So, let's do the final sales numbers for these consoles.
Okay.
Just saying, our community really liked Resident Evil.
Yeah, well, that's because they have great taste in bad video games.
Some of them are really good.
Some of them are amazing, including Game of the Year
Yes.
material like Resident Evil 8.
I really want to play Oculus Resident Evil 4.
Was that Game of the Year?
At least for me.
I freaking forgot.
I think it might have been for you, too.
It might have been...
No, you changed yours near the end, but you
Mine
were
was
considering
Dread.
it.
Mine was Dread.
Number 5, the Atari Jaguar sold a staggering 500,000 units.
Wow.
Number 4, the 3DO, 2 million units, more than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
4 times the Jaguar, though. That's kind of a feat.
Yeah. And the Sega Saturn coming in at number 3 at over 4 times the 3DO at 9.4 million.
Okay.
Who do you think sold more after that?
Just guessing that...
Who sold more after that?
Who sold the most?
Who sold the most in general?
Between the 64 and the PlayStation, who sold more, you think?
PlayStation sold more.
Way more.
I'm just, from this group alone, the fact that 3 of us had it, I want to say 64.
And you would be very wrong.
Good.
You should be ashamed of yourself how wrong you
I knew I would
Number
be.
2, the Nintendo 64 sold 32.93 million. And at number 1, the PlayStation 1 sold 102.49 million consoles.
Yes.
So what
I
is
knew
the
this,
0.93 console? Did they sell?
It's 0.93 million.
Oh, okay. In Dolores?
Yeah.
In rubles, Josh. What are we talking about?
32.93.
It's because he didn't want to say 3,000 blah, 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 blah,
One
blah.
of the
Like,
consoles missing buttons and a top piece and...
Yeah, it wasn't a full console. It was a 0.93
Yes.
console.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It didn't have the top of the disk drive.
Josh, you
unfortunately.
own a business.
What?
Never mind.
I don't sell Saturns and 64s.
But you know what money is.
Let's hear from Josh on the last beer we're having for this episode.
Oh, my. Is this the last one, Brad?
For this episode.
So, our local pals at Untitled Art
Oh, we love them.
made a
Yes, we do.
tiramisu stout
Tiramisu.
Smells
good. Yes.
Little coffee dessert for you guys.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And it is a fuck yeah beer. 8%.
Oh, shit, that
not
smells
too high.
exactly like tiramisu.
Super drinkable. Oh.
Sweet.
It's dessert.
I mean, I don't know. I know it smells like ladyfingers.
This is so good.
I like that. I don't know what a ladyfinger means. I imagine it might be a dessert, but it also smells like a woman's
Brad's
fingers.
just thinking of severed lady fingers that he would have to like eat like a wing.
Is this Elden Ring again? Ladyfingers.
I've technically, yeah.
Shabiri grapes.
Only if there are two fingers.
Ladyfingers is the pastry that they put into tiramisu.
Okay.
See, I didn't know that. I don't know what a ladyfinger is. I'm not a serial
Aren't Dominic
killer.
and I the only cultured ones on this podcast?
No,
I swear
I'm
to
just
God.
fake Italian. Now that I know that I'm French.
Ladyfinger.
Now that you know that you're French.
This finger of a lady, I decapitated from her body. And
decapitated. Did her finger have a face on it?
well, kind of.
Whoa.
Dom,
Jesus.
Dom, let's start with you. Final thoughts on the 5th generation console war.
Obviously, Nintendo 64 has a place in my heart. I had so many of the classic, like, colored cartridges that I went after as a collector. I still have them. They're still in my parents' garage. Luckily, I'm living there now knowing that they still have them. So
bring them with you when you leave.
They will have a place in the RV.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nintendo 64 is like one of my favorite consoles, hands down.
Okay.
Still to this day. I can still pull it out and I can't play, I will say I cannot play GoldenEye.
No.
I can't. But I can still play Smash Brothers.
Yes.
For sure. And Mario Kart. And I can still play the original Super Mario 64.
Of course.
I've never beaten Mario 64, actually.
Dude, it's
really easy to beat.
It's a little rough on the camera.
Play the DS one,
but I
actually.
still love it.
Is that better than the new one?
It's
No, it's not
exactly
better.
the same. It's
Okay.
exactly the
almost-
same as the 3D
except you
remaster.
Except you don't get to play as Yoshi, Wario, or Luigi, which you could in the DS one.
Yeah.
Which makes it a superior
Didn't they call
version.
that Mario 64x4?
They call it Mario 64 DS.
Okay. They should have called it by 4x4. It's great.
Why?
You could.
I get it,
Broom,
but like,
broom.
no.
You could interact with Yoshi, but you couldn't play as Yoshi.
You
in
could
the
play as
original.
Yoshi in it.
In the original, though.
Not in the original.
Yeah.
If
you
you
found
beat
him
the
on a
game-
rooftop, on the rooftop of
Yes.
Peach's castle, whatever. But I love the 64. The 64, like, is the. I have an affinity in my heart for the original Nintendo, and when it disappeared, my father luckily knew how to fill that hole with filling it with a Nintendo 64 and
Damn it, Tom.
Which is so much bigger.
64.
How did he fill it?
64 of those.
Were you that much taller, or
No.
Is it because you could fit 64 megabytes?
In my butt, yes.
Josh, how about you?
I love this generation. I like all three consoles. Yes, three. Saturn's intriguing to me and always was, and I always kind of wanted one when I was a kid. I'm glad I bought one when I did. And this little stack of games that I do have. But PlayStation definitely is my baby. I've been a PlayStation guy since that came out.
Yeah.
But and I was total Nintendo guy until PlayStation came out. I feel like the 64 still had its gems. I'm kind of curious on what percentage of good games are on PlayStation.
Well,
to 64.
Volume versus quality.
Yeah, because
That's like
PS1 games, there has to be over 1,000 at least.
But
Maybe
64 had a much smaller library, but they had a lot of garbage on there too.
two. Yeah, exactly.
did.
That's what I'm saying.
Quest
Yeah.
64.
So I
y'all ever
think,
played?
the 64.
They only had 64 games. That's why they call it the 64.
296 games. Somehow I think I remember that. From
Yeah.
64. PlayStation 1 has a gazillion games, which is awesome. It's always fun to find obscure games too. But yeah, I'm kind of curious. Like, what is? I think the 64 is kind of overrated a bit too. Well, it's way overrated.
I think
But
this,
it's
I think
still
nostalgia
I
has
still-
its
yeah,
blinders.
exactly.
No, I agree with you.
And I still like it. I don't care. I do think it's overrated, but I still love it. but PS1. It's all about Grand Theft Auto 1. No,
that game rules, by the way.
It does. Twisted Metal series, love it. Twisted Metal 1, 2.
You love Axel.
He's cute.
Because he looks like you.
Boom, boom. He's got wheels.
He's got 2 wheels.
He's got 2 wheels and a human body, and attitude.
Ex-Prisoner
I don't know.
2.
This whole
No one
era was
owns them.
fun. Remember the Game Sharks? Those are weird.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, definitely.
So much to that era. And I don't know how many fucking hours I put into those consoles back then.
Those were back when we had time to play games.
Yeah,
at the
remember
time.
that?
Yeah.
You played a game last year, right?
Maybe once.
Just once. Dylan, how about you?
I think any listener of this podcast will know that it's the Nintendo. It's just what it is. It is. I am content and quality over quantity any given day of the week. And I fell in love with the PlayStation later in my life, and especially those older games when they were still cheap. I'm talking like Xenogears, all the Final Fantasies that were on there. I fell in love with those when I was in my teens, a little bit beyond when it was actually released for the time. But just think about all the great shit on the N64. Like I had friends because I had an N64.
Yep.
It sounds lame, but like kids would come over and play video games.
It sounds true.
That sounds exactly
accurate.
like
but people would come over and play, and I could actually like speak like a human being for once in my life. There was like a,
And when I had friends over to show them a Shiva summon, they never came over again.
they're just like, wow, he's horny. Brad's kind of like, ugh. But no, like
Check this out.
I mean, later on in life, I fell in love with so many of these PlayStation games, and especially like
RPGs.
I keep going back to RPGs. Yeah, like Final Fantasy IX.
It was a storytelling machine. Metal Gear Solid 1 came out for the PlayStation.
But like, even consider like the first Paper Mario. Like that's a good RPG. Like there's Mario 64. There's like all the cruising games, which were so playable.
You're okay.
Those ones are good for arcade. It's just
for arcade, they're great.
Oh, I mean, even on the system too. But it's like to be so playable, to be so accessible, to be so straightforward. It's N64 all the way. There's nothing that can compare for me.
Yeah, I'm 100% a PlayStation kid. I never really played a lot of 64, and to me though, it's not about having one winner. It's about who carved out a spot in the generation, who had killer apps and created memories. And the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64 both delivered in very big ways.
Hard, yeah.
But, I mean, the fact that Sony came in on their first console and they beat Nintendo with 3 times the sales numbers is insane. I think it was a huge miscalculation that Nintendo decided to go with cartridges there, but they still did fucking awesome with what they did with their games. I think the Sega Saturn's major downfall, besides just not knowing how to market it, was not having a Sonic game. If they had one killer Sonic game, that could have been huge for that console.
It would have destroyed.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not enough that stick out too much on the Saturn.
Nope.
They have to me there are a lot of good games, and it just doesn't hang with the other two consoles. But it was just lacking those few games where you go, oh yeah, this is the greatest game ever made. Like these are the goats. This is the Symphony of the Night. This is this game. This is that game. Metal Gear Solids and Mario 64s.
Yeah. And there were games that were both on the Saturn and the PlayStation 1, but like you were saying earlier, it's like the ones that were on both them and the 64 are just few and far between. I remember the fact that they got Resident Evil to play on the 64 was kind of a marvel back in the
Resident
day.
Evil 2 played on the 64.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I played the Resident Evil 2 on the 64. It actually played quite well. It was good.
What are your favorite consoles, folks? We'd love to hear from you. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at HotDogcast, on Instagram at HairTheDogcast, and you can also email us at hairthedogcast@gmail.com. If you want to share any of your big memories, we'd love to read them on the show.
Absolutely.
We exist because of people like you. So if you have a chance to write reviews, I know Spotify, you can do reviews now as well. Leave us a rating. We really appreciate that.
Please.
And if you want access to a bunch of bonus episodes, our after show, and even an exclusive podcast where we discuss movies, that's all available on Patreon, patreon.com/hairofthedogcast. This particular episode you're listening to was released months in advance for our beautiful Patreon supporters, such as executive producers Ryan Christianick, Tyler Keller, Kip, the 64 Kilomeister, Kilorama Ding Dong guy.
I love it. It's perfect.
And Brian Ward and Katie Bone, HyperX Podcast Network. Check them out, podcast.hyperx.com.
But not Jamie Bone.
He's not an executive producer. He gives us a lot of free six-packs when he comes on, so that's good.
Whatever.
That's producing the show as well. Josh, you're always producing by bringing a lot of beer.
I work very hard to produce beers for you guys.
You produce beer.
I think you just work hard running a bar.
I do.
Guys, we're kind of like the Sex and the City.
I'm Samantha.
Milwaukee.
No, you ain't. You're Carrie.
I've never seen it. I don't know.
I've never seen any of it.
You're Carrie.
Can I be the
Brad.
redhead?
He's Carrie.
Who's Carrie? Is that
That's
is-
Sarah
this is-
Jessica Parker.
This is.
It's okay. She's the best character.
I'm Samantha. Clearly.
You're Samantha.
Is Samantha
right
like
now.
Is Samantha
right
like the?
now you are Samantha.
Is Samantha
always
the
been
dung eater
Samantha.
of the group?
Yes. She's the tongue eater. She loves to lick it out of there. Then you're Charlotte, unfortunately.
It's not unfortunate.
Who's
He's
Charlotte?
Miranda.
Who?
You would be Miranda.
I'm Miranda.
You're such a
And
Miranda.
then-
He's such a
Wait,
Miranda.
and
no,
then-
This has
no,
been-
I am not Miranda. God damn it.
This has been Raw Dogs, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. New this April from HyperX, it's the HyperX Clutch Controller. Get better control of your mobile gaming with its comfortable grip, directional pad, analog sticks, and shoulder buttons. This versatile controller can fit a variety of phone widths and can also connect wirelessly for use on tablets and PCs. Learn more and pick one up online at HyperX and HP.com, Amazon, Micro Center, Target, Best Buy, and many other fine retailers.